possible within the applicable time frame and with the resources that are available. I want to stress the issue of the time frame as well as the resources. Quite often we come up with great proposals, great interventions, and we hardly ever pay attention to the time frame within which those initiatives will be implemented. And that tends to weaken our resolve. I'd like us at this Lekgotla, as we identify initiatives that need to be embarked upon, to have a clear line of time that it will take to implement those, and also be clear about how the resources will be amassed to ensure that it happens. The most important consideration, obviously, is to prioritize. We will not be able to do everything at the same time or even at the same pace. We must at least reach agreement on the considerations that will inform the trade-offs and the compromises we will have to be forced to make. This is a time of renewal and rebuilding, and it is indeed a time to evaluate how we strategically use our leadership of the Government of National Unity to propel advances that we need to make in the interest of our people forward. And this is the time when, yes, as government, we need to regain the trust that our people have invested in us. So as we rise from this Lekgotla, I would say that we should rise knowing that we have come up with very practical decisions that we will be able to take forward. This Lekgotla also takes place ahead of the Lekgotla we are going to have in government. It also takes place ahead of what we are going to articulate in the State of the Nation address, as well as the budget. And all these must be informed by a number of decisions that we will take here. And all these must be underpinned by a very clear intent to continue to execute the National Democratic Revolution. This is what we are about, and if anyone was ever in doubt whether we will continue executing the National Democratic Revolution, I say, sit up, wake up, and listen carefully and see what is being done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade President. I want to acknowledge the presence of former President, Comrade Mvunyelwa Tabombeki. Comrades, we will deal with the credentials of this meeting at a later stage. We are now going to call our tripartite alliance members. We'll start with Sanco to deliver a message for 10 minutes each. Sanco will be followed by Cosatu, and the Communist Party will close. I don't know who's going to represent Sanco. Why do you raise hands, comrades? Are you from Sanco? Ningabahlali. I can see. Okay. Qina mhlali, qina. Thank you very much. Sanco.
President of the ANC, the leadership of the SACP, the leadership of Cosatu, the leadership of Sanco, herein led by the First Deputy President, Comrade Chris Malimaje, the ANC Women's League leadership, ANC Youth League leadership, MKVA and War Veterans leadership, His Excellency Comrade Thabo Mbeki, leadership of the Tlegi, Reverend Chikane, other key stakeholders, comrades and friends. I'm Anc Lekgotla, Second Deputy President of the South African National Civic Organization in South Africa. Thank you, Comrade Program Director, and thank you for the continued wisdom of the ANC NEC to keep up with an age-old revolutionary tradition and custom in ensuring that the whole alliance not only take part but makes key input in this extraordinary calendar program, and to reflect on key policy and manifesto areas of implementation, and to re-evaluate progress to inform government direction. Conspicuous by absence is the President of Sanco, Comrade Richard Hlophe, and the other key leaders of the organization who are at this moment at the burial of our former Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Sylvia Stevens Mazia, a renowned leader indeed within the ranks of Sanco, the Women's League, for many years and for many years. May her revolutionary soul rest in eternal peace. Sanco, characterized by its large delegation here in this Lekgotla, Sanco has been in the trenches of our social struggles for liberation, for freedom, and in various social resistance groups aimed at making a contribution in the struggle to expose and to topple the erstwhile apartheid regime. Those socio-political actions led by political activists within the bounds of the townships and peri-urban areas culminated in the establishment of a Sanco in post-apartheid South Africa. And it is against that background that Sanco, as seen today, is the biggest progressive civic movement in the South African political landscape. We meet here at a time when one word is sweeping through the world and is ringing loud in the ear of every awakened citizen. The buzzword is reconfiguration. With this little word, the new President of the United States seeks to redefine and usher in a new form of democratization of institutions and world organs of institutional democracy by imposing authoritarian democracy as a new way of life for democracies in the world to come. it is pretty clear that for this duration of his term and beyond his term, the social world order will be adjusted to something unknown, including uncertainty about the birthrights of the American citizens. Probably some new nation is expected to hail down from Mars going forward in that world. Here at home, the president of the ANC has also ushered into the forthcoming vocabulary of the ANC Constitution the new meaning for the same term in the pursuit to strengthen the structures of the organization for better coordination and structured performance. Not only that, this term has been ringing loud in the ears of the Alliance for decades now, pursued by our alliance partner, the South African Communist Party, as its view of how best should the alliance be governed. It is obvious today that this term can never be taken for granted anymore. And as such, and as Sanco, we look forward to this renewed practical meaning in the structures and in the life of the alliance. A few years ago, shall I say, in particular from the fifth administration, we started to hear loud sounds and eloquent cries from the citizenry of this country in their quest for the expropriation of land with or without compensation. Those voices brought forth what is today to be celebrated as the expropriation bill, for which we applaud the President of the Republic for undoubtedly appending his signature on it and without any hindrance. The bill, however, is not the end-all solution to the whole issue of the land debate in South Africa. We must still give a firm meaning to the phrase public interest. Public interest will be a new area of the struggle in the attempt to implement this bill. Various definitions will emerge, characterized by various circumstances, characterized by various interests and motives. And this particular phrase, public interest, will emerge, requiring further clarity going forward on this bill. Sanco will undoubtedly join that struggle. But as the bill comes out now, we hear wheezing sounds of those supporting the bill, and within the echelons of government by the ever-sweet melodious voice of Comrade Sihle Zikalala, and the hoarse voice of those against the bill, led by a certain Mr. Macpherson, who represent a defiant conservative constituency who advocates for the retention of the status quo. We gravitate firmly on the side of the Deputy Minister in this regard, but besides, we have not seen President Ramaphosa failing to pass these bills through. Despite the current form of government, in recent months alone, he passed through the National Health Insurance Bill into law and followed that with the Bella Bill into law. We must value all of those strong-arm tactics that he continues to employ in the success of a complex government like the GNU. And in doing so, he ensures that the priorities of the Revolutionary Alliance and that of our constituency, the people, come first. In the recent past weeks, whilst Cosatu held its Congress, the same weekend the Communist Party held its special Congress, and in the same weekend, Sanco led a national historic march to the Union buildings to deliver a memorandum not only on behalf of the people, but with the people. With the people. Our march was a resounding success, and scores of our people joined our march. We brought forth into the spotlight the issue of illegal traders in South Africa. Not only that, we demonstrated as to what the net negative multiplier effect, both to the people and in general, as well as the net negative impact to the economy of such illegal trading. We raised sharply the social disorder impact of drug dealings and other illicit trades, and we exposed how these social ills and practices militate against the primary objective of a social cohesion. We raised the issue of zamazamas, the issue that is now water under the bridge, as the President has stated in his overview. But the long-term effects of Stilfontein is not, if not loosely and closely monitored, it will do the same harm to the electoral hegemony support as it happened in the past on something similar to it. We reiterate these things simply to arouse your ears and also for you to know that to date we have not seen responses to our memorandum. Like I said, we marched, and as it can be expected, we ended up with tired feet in that glaring, scorching sun. But as we laid our march to rest, our souls and spirits were much more rested than our feet were. So we'll continue to remind you on these issues, and many more to come. But as I come to a close, we cannot conclude without highlighting the issue of the closure of ArcelorMittal. We all know the potential socio-economic negative impact this issue will cause. The long-term effects will undoubtedly be incalculable. This issue says to us something is amiss in our domestic industrial policy outlook, and that a long-term solution must be found, and found soon. No amount of pickets can reverse this situation except government. The same can be said about the potential demise of Itala Development Bank. This issue has been lingering on for the past decade, and it's not a monetary policy issue, but a fiscal policy management issue. In some of these things, we have left fiscal framework too blurred for swift action to become possible and without delay. If we fail in these two rescues, it will be very difficult for society to forget what we didn't do, and in time. We must refuse the return of what happened with the African Bank, which was pioneered by the late Dr. Semutsuenyane and all those revolutionary visionary leaders with whom he labored to bring that bank into existence. It was also lost the same way that these blurred monetary policy and fiscal policy lines which continue to be a blurring scenario. And in the end, becomes difficult to know who takes the blame. We must, as an organization and as a people, be forever reminded about the colossal social phrase which says, when the government is asleep, the capitalists screw the working class. The people get ignored, and the future falls into the pit hole. We must be mindful of that. It is important to conclude that the government, if not the ANC, should continuously seek to give real meaning to the term the government of national unity, because it's only the ANC which subscribe to unity as the central pillar of a national democratic society. It must be remembered that not only the whole of South African population subscribes and embraces the GNU, that only then shall we see the lion and the lamb sitting down together and none being afraid of the other. Each man or woman shall be sitting under his or her own fig and vine tree, and the despondency shall be a thing of the past. We look forward to the national dialogue, which we hope to participate in, and in which we must trust our new hope, and we are convinced that it will fast track and bring our country back into the economic rebound as well as renewed social cohesion. I thank you, Program Director, and I thank you, delegates to this Lekgotla. Amandla! Away too!
Thank you very much, Comrade Baloyi, the second Deputy President of Sanco. Without any waste of time, I'm going to call Cosatu. Reconfiguration and expropriation of land. Reconfiguration of the alliance, don't extend it beyond that.
Mandla, away, two. Forward to the reconfiguration of the alliance, forward. Forward to the Bela Act, forward. Forward to the NHI, forward. Forward to the Expropriation Act, forward. Thank you very much, Comrade Secretary General, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, Comrade President Matamela Ramaphosa, the leadership and delegates of the NEC of the ANC, the South African Communist Party, Cosatu and Sanco, and all formations of the liberation movement, I bring you revolutionary greetings on behalf of your trusted ally, the biggest trade union federation of workers in the country, the Congress of South African Trade Unions. It is no exaggeration to state that this is one of the critical makota of the movement. In a few days, Cabinet will sit, the State of the Nation address, and the budget speech will be delivered. It is critical that this Lekgotla not merely gather to reminisce about the glory days or lament about the election results, but to come with concrete proposals on the way forward, not only for government and the movement, but the nation for the year ahead, and to ensure that we set the path for the alliance to emerge once again with an outright majority in the 2026 local elections. Voters, in particular the working class, do not want to hear vague promises of better life. They don't want to hear about factional spats or extravagant slogans. Society wants to see a sense of humility, to know we have heard their anger and we are addressing our mistakes. They want to hear from us a clear plan of action of how we will improve their lives. Key to this is fixing the state, moving away from the reckless austerity budget cuts that collapse the ability of the state to deliver the quality public service that the working class and the economy depend upon. We must avoid the temptation of falling for naive neoliberal slogans that say slashing funding for hospitals, clinics, schools, police stations, and social services will miraculously restore public services, stimulate growth and create jobs. Comrades, there is no country in the world that was able to rebuild and grow its economy with an austerity budget. Similarly, we will never balance the budget through measures which reduce national income. That is why we are still firm as Cosatu on our call for a review of the country's macroeconomic policy. We argue that there are three levers to reduce unemployment in the country. The first one, of course, is the GDP growth, in reindustrialization, public employment, which includes the presidential employment stimulus, EPWP, and the community works program. When unemployment is at 41.9% and over 12 million people unemployed, we cannot tolerate sending CWP workers home to join the unemployed queues or slashing the presidential employment programs. The private sector must come to the party by putting in place internship and artisanship programs, not retrenching workers, as we would have seen in ArcelorMittal. We need a Marshall Plan, Comrade President, for South Africa, a vision and a plan with 6% growth target that is binding on National Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank. When the President makes progressive commitments as SONA, Treasury must ensure that the budget speaks to these priorities of our government. ESCOM and SARS have shown that if that relief is provided, competent management appointed, corrupt and criminal elements are removed, critical vacancies are appointed and infrastructure invested in, that once embattled SOEs and public entities can be stabilized
rebuild, and once again be enablers of and not burdens to growth. We have made progress on tackling state capture, but we will not win the war against crime and corruption if we do not ensure that the South African Police Service and the NPA and the judiciary have the resources and leadership they need to successfully prosecute criminals. Cosatu is firm in our determination to see a well-capacitated developmental state that is unashamedly biased towards the working class. The role of the state in defending and advancing the national democratic revolution and laying the foundation for a society premised upon the principles of socialism and equality are fundamental. We need a state that can deliver reliable and affordable electricity. Whilst applauding the work by the Ministry of Electricity to minimize load shedding, we must, however, deal with another form of load shedding, which is creatively called load reduction. We are raising this because as far as our people are concerned, there is no difference between load shedding and load reduction. The fact of the matter is that we still have electricity cuts in Soweto and in many parts of our country. We must run efficient freight and passenger rail, operate modern ports and tax collection that can provide our youth and workers with the skills needed to find jobs in the economy of today and tomorrow. We need the state to accelerate the rollout of infrastructure programs to rebuild municipal services to rural communities and townships, to ensure that our roads are paved and water and sanitation delivered. The state and private sector must aggressively support local procurement and SMMEs and abandon the rush to import goods at the expense of local industries and jobs. We must aggressively support Proudly South Africa's campaign of buying locally made products. Whilst we grow the economy, we must expand relief to the unemployed by transforming the SRD grant into a basic income grant, drastically expanding public employment programs, and be accompanied by the skills, training, and experience needed to find permanent jobs. Whilst at times we are frustrated by our comrades' own goals or the pace at which they move, we must, however, commend government led by President Ramaphosa and the ANC for its steadfast defense of the NHI, the Bela Act, Expropriation Act. Cosatu stand with you on signing these bills into law, Comrade President. At the same breath, we expect the ANC in the GNU to defend our hard-won labor rights. We expect all ministers, without exception, to implement legislations of the country. Those from the DA who refuse to implement laws of the country, Comrade President, don't hesitate. We have capable deputy ministers in those portfolios. Now we must accelerate transformation and deliver. The 2026 local elections will be won or lost over the next few months. We will be judged by voters on whether we deliver public service, grow the economy, and create jobs, tackle crime, corruption, poverty, and inequality. Equally critical to winning the most difficult local elections to date and to restore the alliance to its natural role as the leader of society, we must be united. The ANC, the South African Communist Party, Cosatu, Sanco, and the entire movement must be united. The alliance must be one. The alliance must be one, Comrade President. When we are seeking to recover from a 40% election humbling, then we must end our squabbles and be united. We must stop shouting at each other and urgently convene our alliance meeting to discuss difficult questions facing our revolution and alliance. In fact, if we want to enter the game of shouting, you know very well that Cosatu and workers in South Africa can shout more than anybody else here. Therefore, the program to renew the ANC alone will not be complete without the renewal and reconfiguration of our revolutionary alliance. We must focus on implementing ANC election manifesto, building our structures, being on the ground with the working class communities, improving the lives of our people. If we spend the next year boxing each other, then we must not be surprised when voters abandon us. We have seen in the recent by-elections that voters want to see and will support a renewed and united ANC. Comrades, the tasks are clear, the challenges are daunting, but the solutions lay in our hands. It is up to us here to rise to the occasion, to rebuild the movement, to unite the alliance, to fix the state, to grow the economy, to protect the poor and workers, to slash unemployment. We are confident and determined as Cosatu that together we can navigate this difficult path and deliver our promises to the people of South Africa. Amanda! Away, two! Thank you very much.
Thank you, DGS. Give him a good round of applause. The buzzword here is unity of the alliance. Long live the alliance, long live. Comrades, now I will call the South African Communist Party as our last speaker on this round. SACP. Comrade Ben, come this way. Viva Communist Party, viva!
Amanda. Program Director, leaders and members of the Alliance, esteemed stalwarts of the movement present. The South African Communist Party would like to congratulate the African National Congress for its successful 113th anniversary celebration held in Khayelitsha. We appreciate the invitation to the second Lekgotla after the May 29, 2024 elections, where we all, as the Alliance and movement, suffered an elections setback. The South African Communist Party believes that the priorities for the year 2025-2026 should be based on the 2024 elections manifesto. We are glad that the 6 priorities elaborated in the NEC statement on the occasion of the ANC's 113th anniversary are in line with the 2024 Elections Manifesto priorities for the period between 2024 to 2029. We stated in our message to the 113th anniversary of the ANC that what is required by society, the working class and the poor of this country, includes, among others, the following. 1, large-scale employment creation programs to mitigate the unemployment crisis. 2, a high-impact, adequately funded industrial policy to drive broad-based industrialization. 3, state-led infrastructure development with strengthened state participation in critical infrastructure on behalf of the people as a whole as an apex priority. 4, a comprehensive poverty eradication program. 5, a radical program to resolve the crisis-high wealth and income inequalities in our country. 7, expediting the implementation of the Sovereign Wealth Fund to secure long-term national financial interest. 8, a comprehensive social security system, including a decisive advance towards a universal income grant. 9, holistic implementation of the National Health Insurance to ensure universal access to quality health care. 10, financial sector transformation, prioritizing the establishment of a state banking sector and a public banking system. The South African Communist Party therefore presents to this Lekgotla these as areas of emphasis as extensively elaborated during the 2024 Elections Manifesto development process as our contribution to this Lekgotla. Our message to the ANC's 113th anniversary also made reference to the crisis of over 12 million unemployed, active and discouraged work seekers. With further retrenchments, including the recently announced termination of workers' contracts in public employment programs by the GNU and the over 4,000 direct and close to 100,000 indirect jobs to be lost through the looming, if effected, Ursel Metals close down. The priorities for the financial year 2025-2026 must be directed at reversing these trends. We have also stated that the crises facing South Africa are likely to persist for a long time and that macroeconomic policies rooted in fiscal austerity and other restrictive measures may not have and have not provided any solution to these challenges in the last 30 years. The Lekgotla needs to look at newfangled approaches to deal with the current needs of South Africa. We agree that local government needs improving. Water and energy security must remain a priority. We submit further that answers to our challenges do not lie in how much we cut budgets in the medium-term budget priorities, but in the proper prioritization, planning, adequate resourcing, and meticulous execution of identified priorities for each year of the 5-year term, accompanied by appropriate monitoring and evaluation programs. Our priorities should seek to resolve the challenges faced by society while setting the country on a growth and development trajectory anchored on massive reindustrialization. Our view on the GNU and the way it was constituted is well recorded, and so is that of the African National Congress in regard to the GNU. We appreciate the ANC's firm stand with regard to the implementation of the National Health Insurance, the Bella Bill, and bills, and with regard to the implementation of the Expropriation Act. We continue our opposition to neoliberal policies anchored in austerity, measures that focus on wholesale budget cuts than on alternatives to increase production that will help mitigate the development needs of our people. We will continue our struggle against monopoly capital and realize that the Democratic Alliance will continue to lead the charge in the interests of the class they represent. The South African Communist Party within the alliance will continue to take fully unmitigated class positions against capital. The current resolution of the South African Communist Party to contest elections seeks to assert the South African Communist Party's independence as a vanguard party of the workers and the poor. The South African Communist Party will, however, continue to be steadfastly a member of the alliance and seek to do everything in order to advance the aims and objectives of the alliance. Amanda.
Thank you very much, comrades. Give the party a good round of applause. And thank you to members of the Alliance for joining this Lekgotla and delivering those messages of support. I had the comrade here talking about they are contesting. Leave that to us as the top table. We are dealing with that matter. Thank you very much, Comrade Ben, on behalf of the party. Comrades, I was requested to present to you renewal of the ANC and the task for 2025. And thereafter, we will move straight to plenary presentations, which will be led by Mahlobo on local government and followed by Godlimpi, and as well as Dr. Mark. Those are the plenary presentations. And we hope after those presentations will break. And before we break, we will inform you about the breakdown of the commissions and who is here. And the second DSG, Marupini, will do that, including the outline of the commissions. So we are going to spend a lot of our time working in the commissions this afternoon, tomorrow, and coming back to plenary to report back and then wrap up on Monday morning so that we can go to our different provinces. And I think Phoebe will prepare for the credentials in terms of who is here, if that can be ready, so that when we release the members of the media for briefing to this meeting, we will deal with those matters. And the presentations in plenary will be closed. Comrades, in his political overview, to this Lekgotla, the President has outlined the international and domestic context within which this year's NEC Lekgotla takes place. Building on the January 8th statement of the ANC, which it delivered on the 11th of January in Khayelitsha, Cape Town. In the presentation to the last NEC Lekgotla in August 2024, we took you through the NEC's perspective on the outcome of the 2024 elections and the ANC's tactical decisions on how to move our country forward. In this presentation, we focus specifically on how the tasks of renewing the ANC in the broader context of national renewal should be advanced. Over the past decade, successive national conferences of the